chosen one. Pause and listen closely. This moment isn't random. Heaven has set this encounter, and even now, time itself stands still because a message is descending directly into your spirit. December 4th has been marked in heaven's calendar as a turning point in your destiny. You are not hearing this by chance, you are hearing this because eternity is calling your name. You have felt it, haven't you? That gentle stirring in your soul, that unexplainable pressure building in your spirit. It is not anxiety, it is divine awareness. You are sensing the shift, the rearrangement of everything you once thought was delayed or denied. The countdown toward your moment of release has already begun. God has been aligning everything around you, every person, every silence, every storm to bring you into divine positioning for what's about to unfold on December 4th. Listen. Chosen one, the warfare you have been through was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to expose what could not go with you into the next dimension. Heaven allowed certain people to walk away, certain doors to close, certain seasons to end because your destiny could not be built upon unstable foundations. Every tear you cried was a seed. Every disappointment was a divine redirection. And this message, right now, is confirmation you are about to step into the moment that generations prayed for. Stop doubting the signs. Stop second-guessing the call. You were never meant to blend in. You were created to stand apart, to carry a mantle that few understand. That's why rejection was necessary. That's why isolation was divine. You were hidden for preservation, not punishment. Heaven has been preparing you in silence for a public unveiling that only obedience can unlock. This turning point is not about luck or coincidence. It is about divine orchestration. The date of December 4th is not a prediction, it is a proclamation. It represents the breaking of delay, the shifting of spiritual tides, and the unfolding of destiny for those who have endured the refining fire. Your endurance has summoned heaven's attention. You have passed the unseen tests, and now the reward draws near. As you step toward that day, heaven asks for your awareness. Pay attention to the small signs, the recurring numbers, the dreams that feel too real, the scriptures that seem to follow you. These are not coincidences, they are divine whispers reminding you that heaven has not forgotten your name. You are the proof that purpose can survive pressure. Even as you read this, angels are being assigned. The atmosphere around your life is shifting. The pain that once silenced you will become the voice that delivers others. You will not step into December 4th empty-handed. You will carry testimony, power, and clarity like never before. What was once uncertain will become undeniable. And yet, before this release, heaven demands something: surrender. Then lay down the timeline, the expectation, the need to control outcomes. Destiny only unfolds in the hands of those who trust. When you release control, heaven releases acceleration. When you say, "Lord, let your will be done," you align yourself with divine momentum. Do not be afraid of what's leaving. Be expectant of what's coming. This message comes as both confirmation and commission. Confirmation that you were chosen long before you were aware, and commission to rise, prepare, and move as one who carries divine authority. You are not waiting for a sign, you are the sign. You are the evidence that God still breathes purpose into human vessels. Heaven is speaking. Listen. Your story is not over, it's just turning the page. December 4th is the next chapter, written by the author who never makes mistakes. As the prophet Isaiah once declared in his scrolls, it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar like eagles. So rise, Chosen one, do not fear the unknown. Stand firm, breathe deep, and prepare to soar. Heaven has set the appointment, and your name is already on the invitation. For even now, the heavens are opening over you, and the fragrance of new beginnings fills the air. What once seemed impossible will soon unfold with divine precision. The chains that held you are melting away, and the doors once sealed are swinging open before your eyes. Step boldly, this is your awakening. If this message resonates in your spirit, do not stay silent. Let heaven see your agreement. Like, share, and subscribe, so this word reaches every other chosen one who needs to awaken before the turning point arrives. And when you do, comment this prophetic number as a declaration of readiness, 777. Chosen one, you have walked through seasons where silence felt like abandonment. There were nights when your prayers echoed back at you, and mornings when heaven seemed deaf to your cries. You wondered if God still remembered your name, if the promises whispered long ago had faded into the wind. But what you did not see was that heaven was not ignoring you, it was preparing you. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. They are the sacred workshops of heaven. The invisible classrooms where faith is tested, patience is forged, and identity is refined. You were not denied. You were delayed for divine development. In those moments when nothing moved, when doors refused to open and voices around you fell silent, God was writing a deeper story beneath the surface of your life. Every unanswered prayer became the soil in which endurance grew. Every closed door became the training ground for discernment. Do you remember the heaviness you carried? The ache that felt too heavy to bear? That was not punishment. It was purpose pressing against your spirit. You were being stretched so you could hold more wisdom, more strength, more anointing. Heaven knew that to handle the weight of what's coming, your foundation had to be strengthened in silence. Many cannot survive waiting because they mistake stillness for stagnation. But you, chosen one, endured it. You stood still when others ran. You held on when logic screamed, "Let go." You refused to compromise, even when compromise seemed easier. That quiet obedience has not gone unnoticed. The silence you once despised was the very atmosphere where God was shaping you into a vessel fit for His glory. You see, God hides His greatest work in the shadows. Diamonds form in pressure, and oil flows only when olives are crushed. In that hidden place, your character was refined. Your faith was purified. You learned how to trust even when you couldn't trace His hand. That's why, as December 4th approaches, heaven is calling you to remember the lessons of waiting, because the same faith that carried you through the stillness will carry you into the shift. There were moments when you felt you had lost your way, when confusion clouded your path, yet even then, you were never lost. You were being led. Every delay was divine choreography. Every detour redirected you away from destruction and toward destiny. Heaven's silence was not rejection, it was redirection. Some of the people who walked away from you were not enemies. They were divine exits. God knew that where you are going, not everyone could follow. The separation that once broke your heart was heaven's mercy disguised as pain. For if those attachments had remained, they would have diluted your strength. You were being purified for purpose. And the fire of loneliness became the forge of your transformation. In the stillness, you discovered what noise could never teach, that peace is not found in circumstances, but in surrender. You learned to hear the whisper of God in ways you never could when life was loud. You found that your power was not in striving, but in trusting. This revelation, this sacred knowing, will be what steadies you when the shift finally arrives. Heaven has been silent, but not absent. The delay was divine, the process purposeful. You have been trained in the quiet for the public unveiling that is coming. You are not behind schedule. You are right on heaven's time. The calendar of God never runs late. Every prayer you thought was lost has been stored in heaven's archives, waiting for the appointed day of release. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, the Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 14, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart, yes. Wait for the Lord." Those words were not just for ancient believers, they are for you now. Your waiting has been holy. Your delay has been sacred. Heaven has been sculpting patience into your soul, endurance into your bones, and unwavering faith into your heart. You are not the same person who began the waiting. You have been transformed in the wilderness. Now, as the date heaven has marked approaches, you will begin to see why every silence mattered. The prayers that once felt unanswered will echo back in manifestations. The doors that were closed will open with favor beyond what you imagined. You will look back and realize that God's not yet was never no. It was, I'm preparing you for something greater. Chosen one, breathe deeply. The silence that once haunted you is breaking. The long night of waiting is giving way to dawn. Heaven is about to move, and it will make sense why you had to be still first. When it happens, you will not question the wait, you will thank God for it. Chosen one, the battles that raged in silence were never meaningless. You have fought wars no one saw, cried tears no one heard, and carried weights no one understood. Yet through it all, heaven watched, measuring every blow, counting every wound, and ensuring that not one drop of your pain was wasted. What others called misfortune, God called training. What others labeled weakness, heaven called refining. There were nights when darkness whispered that you wouldn't make it, that your faith would break under the pressure. But every time you wanted to give up, something within you refused. That something was not just willpower, it was the Spirit of God sustaining you. While others saw you standing alone, heaven saw you surrounded by angels, guarded by grace. You didn't survive by luck, you survived because you were chosen to. Hidden battles are the signature of chosen souls. You weren't just tested in public moments, you were refined in private pain. Every unseen confrontation with despair was a rehearsal for destiny. The spiritual bruises you carry are not shameful. They are proof that you fought and prevailed. You are not broken. You are battle-tested. You are the kind of warrior who has learned how to bleed and still believe. The storms that came were not punishments. They were permissions. Heaven allowed certain attacks because your anointing could not grow in comfort. Ease never builds endurance, and luxury never shapes leaders. You had to fight, because warriors are not born, they are forged. The pressure you endured was prophetic. It was heaven confirming your rank in the Spirit. Every disappointment was a disguised drill. Every betrayal was a lesson in discernment. God used the fire to burn away the parts of you that could not carry the mantle waiting on the other side. He used isolation to teach you His voice, used heartbreak to teach you compassion, used rejection to teach you identity. And now, as you stand on the edge of your divine turning point, all those fragments of pain come together like puzzle pieces forming a masterpiece. Do you realize what this means? Chosen one. It means the enemy tried everything to destroy you, yet you're still here. You're still breathing, you're still believing. That is your victory. Every time you whispered, "God, I still trust you," the kingdom of darkness trembled. Your survival was not silent in the spirit realm. It was thunder in the courts of heaven. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, it is written in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 20, verse 11. But the Lord is with me as a mighty warrior, so my persecutors will stumble and not prevail. Those words echo through your journey. The Lord has stood beside you in every unseen battle. That's why you never truly fell apart, because divine strength held your pieces together. Every scar became sacred evidence that you were never alone. You must understand that your hidden wars were also holy tests. God wanted to see if you could remain faithful when the applause stopped, if you would keep trusting when there was no reward in sight. And you did. That's why you're being elevated now, not because of perfection, but because of persistence. Heaven rewards endurance. Now the same storms that once terrified you will obey your command. The same pain that once silenced you will become your message. You will speak life into others who are still trapped in the darkness you survived. Your scars will become keys that unlock deliverance in the hearts of those who thought they were forgotten. This is why you couldn't quit. You were never fighting just for yourself. You were fighting for every soul connected to your obedience. Do you feel that? Chosen one. The atmosphere shifting, heaven preparing to announce your next assignment. You have passed through the valley, and you emerge not as the same person, but as one marked with authority. You no longer fight for validation. You fight from victory. The hidden battles were your proof of readiness. Without them, you would not have the discernment you now carry, nor the humility that anchors your strength. You were trained in silence so you could lead in clarity. The weapons that once wounded you will now serve you. The enemy that once mocked you will soon bow before the testimony you carry. And now, heaven releases a simple command to seal this truth in your spirit. In the comments below, write these 3 words: I am ready. Write them not as a gesture, but as a declaration. When you type them, let it symbolize your agreement with heaven that you accept your call, that you acknowledge your training, and that you are prepared to step into your divine purpose. Every letter you write echoes in the spirit realm as a sound of alignment. It's more than text, it's covenant. You have been through the furnace and come out as pure gold. The time for questioning has ended. The time for movement has begun. Stand tall, chosen one. The training is complete. The assignment is at hand. Heaven calls your name, not as a whisper this time, but as a decree. Chosen one. Heaven's calendar is not measured by seconds or seasons, it is measured by purpose. The world counts time through clocks and calendars, but God counts it through alignment. Every delay, every detour, every hidden preparation has been converging toward one divine intersection. December 4th. The day is not random. It carries a prophetic signature, a holy rhythm written before your birth. You see, heaven operates in appointed times. There are ordinary days, and then there are divine days, moments when eternity touches time and destinies shift in an instant. You have reached the threshold of one such day. The air around you is thick with expectation because heaven has already begun to move the unseen pieces into place. Angels are preparing assignments. Circumstances are aligning, and hearts are being stirred without knowing why. All of creation senses what's coming. For years, you have walked by faith through uncertainty. You have watched others move ahead while your own progress seemed frozen. You wondered if perhaps you missed your moment, if maybe the promise expired. But heaven never forgets its own timeline. What felt like delay was divine synchronization. While you thought nothing was happening, heaven was preparing the environment so that when your moment arrived, everything would align perfectly. December 4 is not about a number, it's about fulfillment. It marks a divine unveiling, the manifestation of what has been maturing in secret. Heaven has been watching your endurance, testing your faith, and refining your motives. You were not being punished. You were being perfected. The waiting was a filter, ensuring that only purity would carry power. The patterns of your life are about to make sense. The disappointments that once confused you will soon appear as essential pieces of the grand design. Every no was heaven redirecting you toward the greater yes. Every locked door preserved you from premature exposure. What you thought was stagnation was really acceleration hidden in reverse. God was pulling you back like an arrow so that when the moment came, you would be launched further than you ever imagined. Heaven's timing often feels slow to human hearts because divine wisdom sees what we cannot. God withholds certain things until your character matches your calling. If He gave you what you prayed for before you were ready, the blessing would have crushed you. But now, after the refining, the strengthening, the stretching, you are ready. Heaven never forgets those who waited faithfully. Chosen one, you are entering the divine pattern of appointed time. It is a moment when past pain meets prophetic promise. When all things begin to work together for your good. The turning point written in heaven's calendar is not only about your personal destiny. It's about every soul connected to your obedience. Your alignment will trigger theirs. Your breakthrough will ripple through others' lives like holy fire spreading across dry fields. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes. It is written in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. These ancient words are not poetic coincidence, they are the blueprint of your journey. Every tear, every test, every triumph has been leading you to this time. The seasons you thought were cycles of failure were actually stages of formation. You were never behind schedule. You were being synchronized with heaven's rhythm. So now, as December 4th draws near, heaven whispers, be ready. This is not the time for fear or doubt. This is the time to remember that God's promises do not expire. His word never returns void. What He declared over you years ago still stands untouched, unshaken, unbreakable. The enemy tried to convince you that the delay was denial. But you must understand, God was not ignoring you. He was arranging you. He was aligning your steps with divine precision so that when your season opened, you would enter without confusion. Your story will soon shift from "I'm waiting" to "It's happening." Feel the stirring in your spirit. This is what divine timing feels like. Heaven is releasing a wave of acceleration, where what should take years will happen in days. Things that were tangled will unravel effortlessly. People meant to walk with you will reappear. And those who cannot handle your next level will quietly fade. Do not chase or cling, simply align. The calendar of heaven cannot be manipulated by emotion or pressure. It only responds to obedience and readiness. You have learned to wait without bitterness, to trust without evidence, to move without sight. And now, heaven says, you have waited well. The time of observation has ended. The season of manifestation begins. Everything that seemed paused will suddenly play in fast motion. Divine timing does not crawl, it bursts forth like dawn after the longest night. Chosen one, keep your spirit still as the days draw near. Do not allow anxiety to distort your perception. The same God who marked the date has already marked the outcome. December 4th will not catch heaven by surprise. It was written before time began. What's coming is not just an answer to prayer. It is the unveiling of divine design. In the coming days, watch for confirmations. You will sense it in conversations, dreams, and sudden peace that replaces confusion. These are heaven's way of saying, you are on time. The turning point has already begun within you. December 4th is simply the outward manifestation of what your spirit already carries. Stand in quiet confidence. Chosen one. The wait is ending. The alignment is complete, and heaven is counting down the moments to your release. You are stepping into divine timing, not early, not late, but right on schedule. Chosen one. Have you ever wondered why you've always felt different? Why the places others felt comfortable in never gave you peace? It is because heaven never designed you to blend in. You were crafted to stand apart. Divine separation has marked your life since the beginning. What looked like rejection was really protection. What felt like isolation was divine preservation. There were rooms where your spirit felt heavy, conversations where your soul felt unseen, relationships where you poured endlessly but received nothing in return. You tried to belong, but heaven kept whispering. You are not meant to fit there, like a seed misplaced on the surface. You could not flourish among shallow roots. God was calling you deeper, preparing the soil of your life for something sacred. Every chosen soul must pass through the corridor of separation. It feels lonely, yes, but it is holy. Heaven removes distractions before it reveals direction. The pruning is painful, but it protects your purpose. When God hides you, it is because He intends to reveal you at the appointed time. When people stop calling, it's not because you're forgotten. It's because heaven is quieting the noise so you can hear His voice clearly. Remember, these pearls are formed in darkness, and oil flows only when the olive is pressed. Your isolation has not been emptiness. It has been incubation. You are the seed that had to go underground to break open. The pressure you felt was heaven's way of birthing something new inside you. The loneliness that once crushed you will soon be the testimony that frees others. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of John, it is written in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 2. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit He takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit He prunes, that it may bear more fruit. These words reveal the mystery of your journey. The pruning was proof of your potential. Heaven only cuts what it intends to cultivate. When God stripped away your comfort, He was expanding your capacity. Every goodbye was sacred surgery, every ending a divine edit to your story. Now, chosen one, you are stepping into the phase of divine unveiling. What was once hidden is about to shine. The world will soon see what heaven has been shaping in secret. But as your light grows, remember the purpose of your light is not self-display but service. You are called to be a torchbearer, to illuminate, to uplift, to awaken others who still walk through the shadows you once endured. Your words, your story, your very existence will become a bridge for others to cross from confusion into clarity. But that bridge must be built with love, compassion, and obedience. It must stand strong through storms, anchored by generosity and faith. That's why, before you step fully into this next phase, I ask you to keep this message alive. If these words have stirred something deep in your spirit, if they have reminded you that your isolation had divine purpose, then help this light reach further. Like a candle igniting another, your simple act can illuminate someone's darkest night. Share this message so another weary heart finds hope. Let your gesture be more than digital, it's prophetic. When you share, you declare, I am a vessel of light. When you subscribe, you plant your roots deeper into the flow of revelation that heaven keeps releasing. And if you feel led to give, to support, to sow into this mission, do it not out of obligation but out of revelation. Your offering is not payment, it's partnership. Every seed you sow becomes a spark that lights another torch. Think of it as tending to a sacred flame. Each share is like passing fire from one lantern to another. Each act of generosity becomes oil poured into the lamp of purpose, ensuring the flame does not fade. It's not. Heaven notices every act done from pure love, and those who water others are themselves refreshed. The world is filled with noise, with voices that drain and distract. But here, heaven is speaking directly to souls who are awakening. You are not only receiving, you are participating in a divine ripple. Together, we are building an altar of words where hearts can be healed. Together, we are raising a sound that reminds the broken they are chosen too. So, if your spirit feels the resonance of truth, don't let it end here. Let this message travel. Be the bridge for another. Keep the flame alive, and as you do, remember that your light is never lost when shared, it only grows brighter. Chosen one, your season of isolation is ending. You are stepping into divine connection, divine visibility, divine purpose. Heaven is releasing you not to impress, but to impact. Walk boldly, give freely, and let love be the mark of your movement. Chosen one, have you noticed lately how the atmosphere around you feels different? How numbers, dreams, and moments seem to echo with divine patterns? It is not your imagination. Heaven has been speaking through subtle signs, numbers appearing repeatedly, whispers in your sleep, random encounters that feel too specific to be coincidence. These are not mere occurrences, they are confirmations. Heaven is signaling alignment. God is communicating with you in ways your spirit can recognize, even when your mind cannot explain it. The same God who spoke through burning bushes, through ravens and rainbows, now speaks through patterns, timing, and divine repetition. Pay attention. The whispers of heaven rarely shout. They come as gentle reminders that you are seen, guided, and never alone. You've begun to sense it, haven't you? The same time appearing on the clock again and again, a number written on a billboard that stirs your heart, a dream repeating with increasing clarity. Each sign is heaven's way of saying, stay alert, you are on the right path. The turning point you've been prepared for is drawing near, and the universe is responding to your readiness. The Spirit is awakening your spiritual sensitivity so you can discern divine movement. What others dismiss as coincidence, you recognize as confirmation. That's what it means to be chosen. You perceive beyond the natural. You see the fingerprints of God in the ordinary. You sense destiny in daily details. Do not ignore what heaven keeps repeating. When something keeps returning to your awareness, it is not random. It is revelation. You are being guided step by step toward the unfolding of your divine assignment. Every sign is a divine breadcrumb leading you to fulfillment. As the prophet Daniel once understood dreams and mysteries in hidden visions, you too are being taught the language of heaven. You are learning to interpret the divine codes written across your days. The Spirit is training your senses to hear what others cannot, to feel divine shifts before they manifest. You are not crazy for noticing heaven has simply awakened your awareness. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy. It is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. This sacred reminder is more than a choice between right and wrong. It's a call to awareness. Heaven is saying, pay attention to what I'm placing before you. The signs appearing now are guiding you toward the path of life, purpose, and fulfillment. You are being invited to respond to divine direction with action, to align your steps with heaven's rhythm. So, chosen one, when you see those repeating numbers, Don't just glance, pause, and ask, Lord, what are you showing me when you wake from a vivid dream? Don't dismiss it, write it down. When peace fills your heart in the midst of confusion, recognize it as heaven's confirmation that you are exactly where you're meant to be. Heaven is not testing you, it is teaching you. Each sign is a lesson, each confirmation a clue. The more you notice, the clearer the voice becomes. You are building spiritual fluency, learning to understand heaven's language of patterns and timing. And as your discernment sharpens, confusion fades. These divine confirmations are also preparing you for acceleration. When you recognize a pattern and obey its prompting, you move faster in purpose. What took others years to discover, you will discern in moments because your spirit is aligned. Heaven rewards awareness. This is not superstition, it is synchronization. Numbers, dreams, and symbols are heaven's code written into creation. The wind, the stars, the rhythm of your days all speak when you listen. Your role is not to idolize the signs, but to interpret them through the lens of divine truth. Every sign should lead you closer to obedience, not curiosity alone. So when heaven places a number before you, receive it as a divine signal, not as a mystery to obsess over, but as a message to honor. Let it remind you that your life is part of a divine pattern, that your steps are not random but orchestrated. Chosen one. Heaven wants to know, are you paying attention? The signs are already here, weaving through your everyday life. They are guiding you toward the divine day of transformation that draws near. If this message resonates in your soul, if you felt heaven speaking through numbers, let this be your response of faith. In the comments below, write this prophetic number, 888. Write it as a sign that you are aware, awake, and aligned. The number of new beginnings and divine restoration, 8 repeated thrice, symbolizes heaven's confirmation that your old cycle has ended. When you comment it, do it with intention, not habit. It is your declaration that you are walking into divine renewal, that your eyes are open to heaven's movement. Every time you see that number after this, may it remind you that you are in rhythm with God's plan. You are not lost. You are led. You are not waiting for a sign. You are the sign heaven is using to awaken others. Chosen one, as the day draws nearer, you can feel the tension in the unseen world. The air around you is charged with something invisible yet undeniable. You've noticed that the battles have intensified, the pressure heavier, the warfare stronger, the distractions louder. This is not a sign of failure, it's confirmation of nearness. When darkness senses breakthrough approaching, it always strikes harder. There is a law in the spirit: before elevation comes confrontation. Before glory is revealed, opposition rises. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being targeted because you are dangerous to darkness. The enemy recognizes what some around you do not, that you carry light powerful enough to disrupt his agenda. You don't just walk into rooms, you shift atmospheres. You don't merely pray, you wage war. Every sudden frustration, every unexpected conflict, every fatigue that seems to drain your spirit, it is all part of the resistance that comes before release. Darkness cannot remain silent when heaven begins to move. The moment heaven's clock strikes almost, the enemy rushes to confuse, distract, and exhaust. But you must see it for what it is: a desperate reaction to your impending breakthrough. Heaven has trained you for this. The hidden battles of the past were not wasted. They were spiritual drills, rehearsals for this final stretch. You learned how to stand when everything shook. You learned how to worship when the weight was unbearable. Now that training is about to bear fruit. Do not fear the current warfare. Chosen one. You were not called to avoid battles, you were called to conquer them. You are clothed in spiritual armor that no force can penetrate. When the enemy raises his hand, heaven raises a standard. You are surrounded even when you feel alone. The unseen realm is alive with movement on your behalf. The clash of realms is real. It's the friction between what is written and what resists it. But remember, prophecy always provokes warfare. The word spoken over your life carries divine power, and darkness cannot stand idle while destiny advances. Yet the battle is not a sign to retreat, it is proof that what God promised is near fulfillment. You may not see angels, but they are near. You may not feel strength, but it is rising within you. The same fire that once tested you now fuels you. You are not merely surviving, you are stepping into spiritual command. Every time you choose peace instead of panic, you win a battle unseen. Every time you pray instead of complain, light pierces the darkness. Every act of faith destabilizes the plans of hell. As the ancient warrior David once declared in sacred song, it is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 39. You armed me with strength for battle. You humbled my adversaries before me. That declaration echoes through your spirit now. You have been armed for this. Heaven has not left you defenseless. You carry divine authority. The very same power that raised Christ from the grave. The weapons formed against you will appear, but they will not prosper. You were designed to outlast the storm. Look around, can you sense it? The world feels restless because the unseen is shifting. The opposition is not about your past, it's about your future. The enemy always fights hardest at the edge of a threshold. Every obstacle before you is not blocking the way, it is the way. You will not go around it, you will go through it, carrying heaven's victory banner. Chosen one, do not let fear take root. Fear is the language of the defeated, and you are not among them. You belong to the remnant who rise in adversity, who see fire and walk into it knowing that God dwells there. What you are facing now is the birth pain of destiny. Pain is not the end, it is the sign that something new is being born. When you feel weary, remind yourself every battle has an expiration date. Every storm eventually runs out of rain. Even the fiercest wind must bow to divine command. Heaven is not asking you to fight alone, but to stand in trust, knowing that the victory has already been written in your favor. Your calling terrifies darkness because you carry light that exposes lies. That is why the attacks have been personal, the distractions relentless. But the enemy miscalculated. He forgot that pressure does not crush the chosen. It reveals them. Soon, you will look back and see that this final battle was not meant to break you, but to crown you. You will understand that every fiery arrow you dodged, every night you cried, every prayer whispered in exhaustion, all of it prepared you for the authority you now walk in. The clash of realms is the sound of your emergence. Chosen one. There comes a moment in every divine story when the waiting breaks, when the heaviness lifts, and what once resisted begins to yield. You are standing on the edge of that moment. The delays that once drained your hope are now trembling under the weight of divine reversal. The hand of God has already moved. What seemed frozen is melting. What was withheld is being released. Heaven is orchestrating a divine turnaround. You can feel it in your spirit, something is shifting. The silence that used to suffocate you now feels like the calm before breakthrough. Even creation seems to agree. The air feels lighter, time feels faster, and everything around you whispers, "It's time." You are not mistaken. The appointed season of reversal has arrived. You endured the testing, you waited through the wilderness, and now you are standing where delay meets deliverance. What was taken will be restored, but not in the same measure. Heaven never returns things as they were, it multiplies them. The pain you suffered is about to pay interest. Every tear, every closed door, every missed opportunity, they are returning as blessings pressed down and overflowing. The same people who doubted you will watch favor surround you. The same places that once rejected you will make room for your presence. Where you once knocked and were ignored, doors will now open unprompted. But this is not about revenge, it's about revelation. Heaven is revealing what was always yours. You must understand, divine reversal is not random, it's strategic. God does not restore just to comfort you. He restores to re-establish His glory through your life. You are the vessel of His demonstration. Every delay that once made you question His promises will now testify of His faithfulness. What you thought was loss was simply divine rearrangement. There is a heavenly law that cannot be broken. Nothing surrendered to God stays lost. Every seed planted in tears must yield a harvest of joy. Every not yet becomes now. The seasons of drought were preparing you for a flood of fulfillment. What you once begged for, you will soon hold without striving, as was spoken in the ancient writings. It is written in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you. Those words are not poetic, they are prophetic. The years that felt stolen are returning with divine interest. Time itself bends for those who walk in alignment with heaven's will. You have entered a season where lost opportunities are reborn, where relationships are mended, and where your purpose emerges purified by fire. Do not dwell on the years you think you wasted. They were not wasted, they were written. Heaven does not mismanage time. Every delay was calculated to shape your discernment, to deepen your dependence, and to expand your faith. Had you received your breakthrough earlier, you would not have recognized its weight. Now, you are mature enough to sustain it. The reversal coming to your life will not be partial, it will be complete. You will see restoration in your health, peace in your mind, stability in your home, and provision in your path. But most importantly, you will recover your confidence, the quiet assurance that God was working even when you couldn't see it. Chosen one. The tide is turning. The closed chapters are reopening under divine authorship. Situations that looked final are being rewritten in heaven's ink. Suddenly, what was denied will be approved. What was distant will draw near. You will look at the same mountain that once intimidated you and realize it has become a stepping stone. You are walking into a divine exchange, beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for despair. This is not the return of what was, it is the revelation of what always was yours. The enemy thought he could rob you, but heaven allowed it only so that when restoration came, the world would know it was divine. You will not need to chase the blessing, it will locate you. The same divine force that once held you still will now propel you forward. Grace will move through your days like wind through sails, carrying you faster and further than effort ever could. So lift your head, chosen one. The season of lack has served its purpose. The wilderness is closing, the Jordan is parting, and your feet are about to touch the promised ground. What was once bitter will become sweet. What was broken will stand whole again. The God who began this work in you is now bringing it to completion, and no resistance can delay what heaven has decreed. You will soon realize that the waiting was worth it. Every silent prayer, every tear sown in faith, it all becomes a song of joy. The night of struggle gives way to morning light, and the horizon of your destiny glows with restoration. Chosen one, when heaven calls you higher, it never does so lightly. With every new measure of grace comes a new measure of responsibility. The anointing upon your life is not a trophy to display, it is a mantle to carry. And a mantle always carries weight. You are stepping into a realm where authority must be balanced with humility, and influence must be guarded by obedience. This is the sacred exchange. God entrusts you with power only if you are willing to be governed by purpose. Many pray for promotion, but few are prepared for stewardship. To be chosen is not simply to be blessed, it is to be burdened with divine accountability. Heaven watches closely how you handle the little before releasing the much. The tests you faced in silence were not random. They were training for the weight you now hold. The lessons learned in obscurity will protect you in visibility. You have been entrusted with something that costs more than applause: responsibility. The authority you carry is spiritual currency, and heaven expects you to use it for restoration, not recognition. When you speak, your words carry impact. When you move, your presence shifts things. When you pray, the atmosphere responds. But this power demands purity. You cannot walk in divine authority and still entertain distraction. The mantle requires focus, integrity, and surrender. The world may see you rising, but heaven sees you kneeling. Greatness in the kingdom is not measured by how high you stand, but by how low you bow. The higher you ascend, the deeper your humility must root you. Pride is the only weight heavy enough to make wings fall. So heaven reminds you: remain grounded, remain grateful, remain guided. It is written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 15. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, rightly handling truth. This verse is a reminder that calling without character is collapse waiting to happen. You have been approved, not for perfection, but for perseverance. The anointing that flows through you is heaven's endorsement that your trials have produced trustworthiness. Every battle you overcame was a test of stewardship. You proved faithful, and now heaven releases greater authority. Still, this new level will require discernment. Not everyone who claps for you is assigned to walk with you. Some will celebrate your calling but not understand your cost. Others will be drawn to your light but unprepared for its heat. Guard your circle with prayer, not suspicion. Choose those who bring peace, not noise. Destiny requires divine company, not crowded company. A psalm. Remember, the mantle does not make you superior, it makes you responsible. You are not called to rule over others, but to serve them from a higher perspective. Authority in the kingdom is not control, it is compassion guided by conviction. When you lead, lead with love. When you speak, speak with mercy. When you correct, do so gently, for you were once in need of correction too. Heaven is watching how you carry what you have been given. The true test of divine authority is not in commanding others, but in commanding yourself, in walking in purity when no one is watching, in choosing patience when frustration tempts you to react. This is the discipline of the chosen: restraint, reverence, and responsibility. There will be moments when the weight feels too heavy, when the expectations seem unending. In those moments, remember that you are not carrying this mantle alone. The same God who placed it upon your shoulders strengthens you to bear it. The anointing that rests upon you will sustain you when human strength fades. You have been elevated not to escape struggle, but to empower others through it. Your testimony will become a manual for those still wandering through confusion. The mantle you carry is a message written in your scars, a reminder that grace still works through the imperfect, chosen one. Heaven now invites you to acknowledge your readiness to carry this weight. If this truth resonates with your spirit, write these words as your declaration: I will carry. Write them not casually, but consciously. Let them be a vow between you and God, a promise that you will bear this responsibility with reverence and strength. When you comment those words, imagine yourself standing before heaven's throne, hands open, saying, "Use me. I will not shrink back." Those 3 words are not a slogan, they are surrender. They mark your agreement with divine order, your acceptance of purpose even when it feels heavy. Each time you see them again, let them remind you that being chosen is not about being elevated above others, but about being anchored deeper in service. You are stepping into maturity now, walking as one trusted by heaven. And as you do, the world will see not just a believer, but a vessel of divine responsibility. Chosen one, you've learned to hear God even when the world went silent. There were seasons when his voice felt distant, hidden beneath the noise of confusion and the chaos of your own thoughts. Yet even then, heaven was speaking in whispers, in pauses, in stillness. You've come to understand that God does not always thunder from the clouds. Sometimes he hides his voice inside the quiet. You see, hearing God is not about sound, it's about stillness. The divine voice is like the wind. You cannot capture it, but you can feel it move. It speaks not to your ears, but to your spirit. Many wait for a shout, but heaven prefers a whisper because only the humble hear whispers. You have learned that silence is not absence, it's intimacy. The voice that once felt distant now feels like a heartbeat within you. When you stopped begging for answers and started resting in trust, the volume of heaven rose. The noise of the world is loud, but divine guidance is subtle. The loudest signal is often stillness. That is where clarity is born, in the spaces where your striving ceases, and your soul simply listens. You have walked through enough storms to know this God is not found in the chaos, but in the calm that follows it. Like Elijah, who searched for God in the wind and fire but found him in a gentle whisper, you too are learning to recognize him not in the extraordinary but in the everyday. The rustle of leaves, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your own breathing all become the language of heaven once your spirit learns to listen. As the Gospel of Matthew reveals, it is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Those words are more than comfort, they are instruction. They tell you how to hear him by coming closer, by resting instead of running, by trusting instead of fearing. God does not shout over your anxiety, he waits for you to quiet it. When your heart becomes still, his words become clear. Chosen one, your ability to hear heaven will determine how you move in this next season. The path ahead is not navigated by sight, but by sensitivity. You will be guided by nudges, by impressions, by peace that lingers or fades. This is not guesswork, it is divine guidance refined by relationship. Every decision you make under his direction will ripple with supernatural precision. And now, as you grow in this awareness, I ask something of you, something sacred. So if this message has helped you find stillness, if these words have reminded you that God still speaks in silence, help the echo reach further. Imagine this message as a candle lit in a dark field. Each time you like, you shield it from the wind. Each time you share, you pass its flame to another soul wandering in shadow. When you subscribe, you build a small altar of remembrance, so when storms come again, you'll find your way back to light. And if you feel led to give, to sow, to donate in any way, see it not as charity but as oxygen for the flame. Every gift becomes oil poured into the lamp of truth, keeping it burning for those who still stumble through the night. You are not just a listener, you are a keeper of the flame. Your support, whether a simple click, a word of encouragement, or a seed sown in faith, becomes part of a living movement of light. just as rain returns to the sky after watering the earth. What you give always finds its way back multiplied. Heaven honors every act done in sincerity. Think of this message as a river. When it flows, it nourishes everything in its path. But for a river to reach distant lands, it needs tributary streams that carry the same water further. You are one of those streams. Your voice, your action, your sharing keeps the current of hope alive. So let this not be the end of a message you heard, but the beginning of one you helped deliver. There are souls who will hear through you what you once needed to hear yourself. Become the echo. Let light move through you. As you continue your walk, may the whisper of heaven guide every step. When confusion rises, return to the stillness. When fear shouts, listen deeper. The same voice that called stars into being is still speaking your name. Softly, clearly, faithfully, Gunon. And as long as you keep your heart quiet enough to listen, you will never lose your way. Chosen one. The moment heaven has prepared is approaching the alignment between what is spoken above and what unfolds below. You are entering a time when heaven and earth will move in rhythm, where the invisible and visible converge into perfect harmony. What once felt delayed will suddenly make sense because divine timing is never accidental. It is precise, calculated, and holy. There are moments in life when the spiritual realm leans closer to the natural world, when the line between the unseen and the seen becomes almost transparent. December 4th is one such moment. It is the day when your obedience, your endurance, and your faith will meet heaven's orchestration. Every act of trust you performed in silence has been recorded. Every prayer stored like incense in golden bowls before the throne. Now those prayers are being poured back as reality. This is not only a date, it is an appointed intersection where divine order meets human readiness. Heaven has been waiting for your yes, your alignment, your willingness to believe beyond what you could see. What's about to unfold is not new in heaven. It is only new to you. It was written long before you arrived on earth. Every breath, every step, every detour was guiding you toward this divine synchronization. You will begin to notice signs of acceleration, doors opening without explanation, connections forming unexpectedly, ideas flowing effortlessly. This is the rhythm of alignment. You are no longer striving to make things happen. Things begin to happen through you. Heaven has synchronized your heartbeat with divine timing, and creation responds to that rhythm. But this alignment does not come without awareness. To stay in rhythm with heaven, you must remain attuned. Distractions, fear, and doubt attempt to throw you off balance, to slow the divine flow moving through your life. Guard your focus, for focus is the steering wheel of destiny. When you keep your eyes fixed on God's movement, your steps will not falter. Chosen one, you have reached a season where obedience matters more than understanding. The alignment of heaven and earth does not require you to comprehend every detail. It requires you to trust the direction of the one orchestrating it. Some doors will open, others will close, and some paths will shift abruptly. Do not panic. Each shift is a sign of divine adjustment. God is positioning you exactly where His purpose demands you to be. Heaven's alignment often disrupts human comfort, just as stars must be positioned with precision to illuminate the night. Your life must be adjusted to reflect divine light accurately. The discomfort you feel is not disorder, it's calibration. Heaven is tuning your life like a musician tunes an instrument, ensuring every note of your destiny plays in harmony with His will. According to the ancient words of the prophet, it is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 2, "I will go before you and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of bronze and cut the bars of iron. This is heaven's promise of alignment, the assurance that what seems crooked in your journey will soon make sense. The barriers that once confined you are being broken, not by your might, but by divine intervention. You do not have to force alignment. You must simply stay faithful to the process. Heaven does the heavy lifting. When heaven aligns with earth, delays dissolve. What once took years happens in moments. People who were once indifferent to your presence will be drawn to your purpose. Opportunities that seemed impossible will appear naturally. It will feel effortless because you are no longer fighting against divine timing. You are flowing with it. Still, alignment requires humility. Heaven cannot flow through prideful hearts or restless minds. You must move with gentleness, understanding that divine timing is a dance, not a demand. When heaven leads, follow. When heaven pauses, wait. When heaven shifts, surrender. Your peace is proof of your alignment. You will soon realize that this alignment is not just about your personal journey, it's about everything connected to you. Families, friendships, and even nations are woven into your obedience. Your alignment becomes the channel through which heaven blesses others. When you move correctly, ripples of divine order spread outward, touching lives far beyond your sight. This is why the call on your life has always felt heavy. It carries multitudes. You were never being prepared for a private purpose, but for a collective awakening. The more you align, the more heaven's influence multiplies through you. As December 4th dawns, heaven's current will flow unhindered. The words once spoken over you will begin to manifest. You will find yourself in places you once only dreamed of, doing things that once felt impossible. Every crooked place will straighten, and every gate of bronze will yield to divine command. Stand still. Chosen one, listen for the sound of alignment, the silent harmony of heaven moving through your life. Do not rush, do not resist. Simply allow. For what is coming is not man-made momentum, it is heaven's movement, perfect and precise. Chosen one, before heaven pours out what it has stored for you, something sacred must take place within you. Surrender. True alignment cannot exist without release. You cannot receive what heaven is offering while still holding tightly to what is fading. The turning point that awaits you on December 4th is not just about doors opening. It is about hands letting go. This season is not asking for more effort, it is asking for release. The battle you've been fighting is not outside you, it has been within. The struggle between faith and fear, between control and trust, between the need to understand and the call to obey. But heaven whispers, let go. You cannot walk into divine fulfillment while clinging to yesterday's expectations. You cannot hold both the promise and the pain at the same time. One must be released for the other to rise. You have been carrying heavy things, memories that still sting, regrets that still whisper, and wounds that pretend to be healed but still ache when touched. Yet heaven does not condemn you for this. It invites you. The same God who asked Moses to lay down his staff before transforming it into a serpent now asks you to lay down what you've been gripping so tightly. When you release it, heaven will reveal what it truly is, not a burden, but a seed. There is divine power in surrender. When you stop forcing outcomes, God starts unfolding them. When you stop demanding explanations, wisdom begins to flow. Control creates confusion, but surrender brings clarity. You are not losing anything by releasing. You are making room for something greater. Forgiveness is also part of this surrender. There are people you've held in the prison of your pain for far too long. Every time you remember them, the wound reopens. But hear this truth: you cannot walk into your destiny while dragging chains from the past. Forgive not because they deserve it, but because freedom is your birthright. Forgiveness is not the erasing of memory, it is the cleansing of poison. As the Gospel of Mark reveals the wisdom of surrender, it is written in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, verse 35, "For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it." These words are the paradox of divine power. The more you release, the more you receive. The moment you stop grasping, your hands become available for blessing. This is not loss. This is divine exchange. Chosen one. Heaven is not asking you to give up dreams. It's asking you to give up your version of how they should happen. God's plan for you is not denial, it's divine redirection. When you surrender control, you will begin to see how perfectly heaven had things arranged all along. What felt like detour was direction. What felt like silence was set up. Now is the moment to breathe and release. Let go of the fear that keeps asking, "What if it doesn't work?" Let go of the bitterness that whispers, "They got away with it." Let go of the guilt that says, "It's my fault." These voices have no authority in the new chapter. They belong to an era that has expired. Heaven is offering peace in exchange for panic, strength in exchange for sorrow, and purpose in exchange for pain. Every act of surrender becomes an altar where heaven descends. When Abraham lifted the knife, provision appeared. When Mary said yes, the Word became flesh. When Jesus released his Spirit, redemption was born. Your surrender will unlock something just as miraculous. Narration. You may ask, how do I know I've truly surrendered? The answer is peace. When the weight lifts and your spirit rests, that's when heaven has taken over. The outcome no longer haunts you. The timeline no longer controls you, and your heart finally beats in rhythm with grace. Chosen one. This is your sacred invitation to loosen your grip and open your hands. What you release will not leave you empty, it will return multiplied. Every seed surrendered to God returns as a harvest of joy. And so, as a prophetic act of faith and readiness, write this number in the comments below for 1944. Write it not as decoration, but as declaration. 4 is the number of divine order repeated thrice. It symbolizes heaven bringing structure to the chaos that once consumed you. When you type it, let it mean, I surrender. I trust the divine order of my life. I release control so heaven can reign. Every time you see that number after today, let it remind you that peace is your proof of surrender. You are not called to force outcomes, you are called to flow in grace. You do not chase what's yours, you attract it by obedience. The door to your destiny does not open through striving, but through stillness. The key is surrender. The handle is trust. Heaven is waiting for your yes, not a loud yes, not an emotional yes, but a quiet one that says, Lord, I release it. Chosen one. Lift your heart, release your grip, and breathe. Heaven's hands are already stretched toward you. You are not losing anything, you are making space for miracles. Chosen one. There are crowns that cannot be crafted in peace, they can only be forged in pressure. You are one who has been refined by hardship, purified through fire, and shaped by endurance. Every tear you shed, every disappointment you carried, every season where strength seemed to vanish, these were not signs of defeat. They were the ingredients of your coronation. The crown that heaven places upon your head is not made of gold, but of glory. It is not decorated with jewels that fade, but with the radiance of endurance. Only those who refuse to give up, who choose faith over fear and obedience over escape, are trusted with this kind of crown. You have suffered long, but not in vain. Every sorrow has been transformed into substance. When you look back, you will see that the pain you once cursed became the soil that nurtured your strength. The nights that nearly broke you taught you how to stand. The betrayals that shattered your trust gave birth to divine discernment. The loneliness that seemed endless birthed an intimacy with God that cannot be imitated. You are not defined by what you lost. You are crowned by what you endured. Endurance is heaven's silent recognition. It is not dramatic, not loud, not always celebrated, but it is noticed. Every time you chose to forgive when you could have fought back. Heaven took note. Every time you prayed while bleeding, angels recorded your faith. You may not have seen it, but each act of endurance built an altar before heaven, a place where your persistence became worship. Chosen one. There are crowns only the weary can wear, and yours has been shaped in sacred fire. The world often admires speed, but heaven honors stamina. Others may have started with you but gave up when the journey grew hard. Yet here you are, scarred but standing, weary yet willing, trembling yet trusting. That is what makes you heaven's favorite kind of warrior, not the flawless, but the faithful. The Apostle James once wrote words that echo through time. It is written in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. That crown is now being prepared for you. It is not an ornament of pride, but a symbol of proof that you endured, that you believed when belief was costly, that you remained when others retreated. Heaven calls your endurance beautiful because it reflects the nature of Christ himself. You see, endurance is not just survival, it is worship. To keep walking when nothing makes sense. To keep believing when every reason says quit. To keep loving when your heart is breaking, that is the highest form of faith. The enemy cannot comprehend a soul that continues to worship while wounded. That kind of strength terrifies darkness. You have been walking through a long winter, but every winter has a hidden spring. The roots that looked lifeless were gathering strength beneath the soil. Now, as the season shifts, what was buried will bloom again. But this time, you will not bloom with fragility, you will bloom with authority. The fragrance of your endurance will be the evidence of divine preservation. The road that once crushed you will soon become the platform you stand upon. Those who watched you suffer will witness your resurrection. The same story that brought you tears will now release others from theirs. You have become a living testimony that endurance is not wasted, that pain can indeed be sacred. Chosen one. Your scars are no longer symbols of pain, they are marks of power. They tell the world, I have walked through the valley, but I did not die there. You carry the fragrance of survival, and heaven calls that aroma victory. The fire that tried to destroy you has now become the very light that surrounds you. You may not have realized it, but the moment you chose to keep going, your crown began forming. Each day you rose despite despair. Heaven added another thread of glory. Each prayer uttered through tears added another jewel of grace. The crown was never given suddenly, it was woven slowly through years of quiet endurance. Now, as the turning point approaches, that crown will shine not to elevate you above others, but to reveal God's faithfulness through you. The light that reflects from it will draw others out of their darkness. You will become living proof that no pain is wasted when surrendered to divine purpose. Chosen one, take a deep breath. The weight you feel on your shoulders is not the burden of sorrow anymore, it is the weight of glory settling upon you. Your story is becoming sacred testimony, and heaven is proud. Wear your scars like jewels. Walk with quiet confidence. And remember, the most radiant crowns are not worn by those who avoided the fire, but by those who walked through it and came out carrying light. Chosen one. The crown upon your spirit is not meant for hiding. You have walked through fire, and now heaven commands you to stand in authority. For too long, you have diminished your light to make others comfortable, silenced your voice to avoid misunderstanding, and lowered your strength to seem humble. But now heaven says, rise. You are not a shadow, you are a signal. You were never called to blend into the background. You are called to walk with divine authority, a quiet, holy power that carries peace into chaos and order into confusion. The authority resting on your life is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is heaven expressing itself through you. Heaven's will taking shape in your actions, your words, your presence. When God grants authority, He does not crown you to dominate, He commissions you to serve. You are called to walk as light in a darkened world, not merely by speaking, but by being. People will sense something different in you, even if they cannot name it. The way you stand, the way you forgive, the way you refuse to fear, these are all signs of your authority. You have come through your refining season, and now heaven calls you to act. The same hands that once trembled in prayer will now command miracles. The same voice that once whispered for help will now declare healing. The same faith that once barely held on will now ignite revival in others. This is not the moment to shrink, it is the moment to step forward. Authority in the kingdom is not loud, it is rooted in peace. When Jesus stood before storms, He did not shout, He spoke softly and the wind obeyed. That is the model of divine authority, and that it does not demand attention, it commands alignment. You do not need to prove your calling, the fruit of your obedience will prove it for you. As the Apostle Luke recorded in the sacred scrolls, it is written in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. This is not a metaphor, it is a mantle. You have been authorized by heaven to walk unharmed through the chaos of this world. Your authority is not defensive, it is declarative. You no longer react to darkness, you command it to retreat. Your very presence is a declaration that light has come. But authority without compassion becomes tyranny, and power without love becomes noise. Heaven calls you to balance strength with gentleness, to lead without pride, to correct without cruelty, to influence without controlling. True authority flows through humility. It is not something you display, it is something you carry quietly. Knowing it was never yours, it was entrusted to you. This is the moment to use your authority wisely. You have been given words that heal, prayers that shift atmospheres, and insight that pierces deception. Speak life where there has been death. Declare peace where there has been turmoil. Command calm where confusion has taken root. You carry within you the same breath that parted seas and raised the dead. When you speak in alignment with heaven, the impossible bows. You will soon notice people drawn to your presence. Some will seek advice, others comfort, and a few simply peace. They won't always know why, they will just sense that being near you makes them feel safe. That is what divine authority does. It carries stability. It turns chaos into calm without effort because heaven itself flows through you. Chosen one. Never forget this authority came with a price. You earned it in silence, in surrender, in the sacred struggles that no one else saw. That is why it cannot be taken, it was forged, not given cheaply. The strength you carry is not borrowed, it was born in the breaking. Walk now as one who knows where your power comes from. Speak as one whose words are anchored in eternity. Let the world see through your calm confidence that you are not moved by storms, you move storms. You do not chase signs and wonders, they follow you. as light follows the sunrise. Heaven trusts you with this authority because your heart has proven faithful. You will not abuse it, nor hide it. You will wield it as a sword made of mercy and a shield made of truth. Every step you take carries divine backing. Every word you release carries eternal weight. This is what you were trained for, to walk as a vessel of divine order in a disordered world. You are a representative of heaven's government, an ambassador of restoration, a carrier of divine calm. Chosen one, lift your head. The crown you wear is not ornamental, it is functional. You were not just saved, you were commissioned. You have authority to speak life, to silence storms, to release peace wherever you stand. Step forward with reverence, with confidence, with clarity. The world will know you not by your words alone, but by the peace that follows in your wake. Chosen one, what happens through you now will not remain within the borders of your own life. The moment heaven breathes through a surrendered soul, the ripple reaches far beyond what the eye can see. You may think your influence is small, that your story matters only to a few, but in the unseen, your obedience is shaking nations. Each act of faith you've taken has released vibrations through the spiritual realm. Like a stone dropped into still water, your surrender creates circles that spread endlessly outward. Your words, your kindness, your resilience, they travel further than sound. They become light signals that awaken other chosen ones still asleep in their silence. This is how heaven multiplies impact. One faithful voice becomes an echo in many hearts. What began as your private devotion turns into public awakening. You are the spark that ignites torches across generations. Every step you take in obedience gives courage to someone else to rise. You are not a solitary flame. You are part of a divine constellation. Together, heaven's chosen form a tapestry of light that stretches across the earth. You may never meet all those you influence, but heaven keeps the record. The smallest gesture of faith, your prayer, your word, your endurance becomes part of a global movement of grace. As Jesus once spoke in parables of hidden seeds and unseen harvests. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 33. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast a woman mixed into flour until it leavened all. That is what your obedience does. It works quietly, deeply, invisibly until transformation covers everything it touches. You do not have to shout to change the world. You only have to stay faithful. The yeast doesn't demand attention, yet it changes the whole substance. Likewise, your consistency and purpose will transform more lives than you imagine. The ripple effect of your obedience will reach those in hidden places. A single word you speak may lift despair from a stranger. A simple act of generosity may open a heart to hope again. You will never fully grasp the magnitude of your impact until eternity reveals it. And because this light spreads through connection, I want to ask something of you, not as obligation, but as partnership. If this message has resonated with your spirit, let it flow forward. When you like, when you share, when you comment thoughtfully, you are not just interacting, you are transmitting light. Each digital gesture becomes a seed cast into the wind, landing where it is most needed. Think of it like this: every share is a candle passed hand to hand across continents. Every comment is a spark that tells heaven, I'm here, I'm listening, I agree. When you subscribe, you are building an altar of continuity, saying, I will not let this flame die out. And when you give, when you sow, when you donate even the smallest gift, it becomes a drop of oil poured into the lamp of this mission, keeping it bright for those still walking through night. You are not giving to a person. You are feeding a movement of light. The work of awakening is like a lighthouse. It must stay lit for ships still lost in fog. Your generosity keeps that beacon burning. Every gesture becomes a partnership with heaven's agenda. This is not about numbers or applause. It's about reach, about the soul somewhere on the edge of despair who will find hope through your small act. The gospel moved forward through people like you. Ordinary hearts carrying extraordinary faith. So, as this message meets your heart, take a moment. Reflect on how far you've come. Remember the voices that lit your path when you were lost. And now, become that voice for someone else. Keep the chain unbroken. Let this flame move from screen to spirit, from you to another who needs to be reminded you are chosen too. When you comment below, let your words carry gratitude, revelation, or even a simple "I received this." Comments are not noise, they are confessions of faith echoing across time. Heaven listens to digital altars too. Your life has already become part of a greater story, one that spans borders and generations. You are not simply following a message, you are helping it become a movement. Every action of love, every gesture of faith, every moment of generosity joins a chorus that declares light wins. Chosen one, never underestimate the reach of a single obedient heart. Heaven's revival doesn't begin in stadiums, it begins in souls like yours. Keep shining, keep sharing, keep sowing. You are not just a listener of this message, you are a carrier of it. And remember this truth: the light you spread will always return brighter. When you give light, heaven refills your flame. When you pour out, heaven pours in. Together, we keep the fire burning until the whole world glows with awakening. Chosen one, heaven's hand is now reaching for yours. The time of breaking is transforming into the time of exchange. Everything you once thought you lost is returning, not as it was, but as it was meant to be. This is the season of divine trade, the holy exchange between your ashes and heaven's beauty, your pain and heaven's purpose, your fear and heaven's faithfulness. You are standing at the altar of exchange, where everything surrendered becomes sacred. There are moments when heaven must strip away what you've clung to so it can replace it with what truly belongs to you. You are not being punished, you are being upgraded. The weight you carried, the tears you cried, the prayers that went unanswered, they were all part of the divine transaction. You were giving up what was temporary to receive what is eternal. For years, you thought certain losses defined you. You believed that closed doors meant rejection, that absence meant abandonment. But heaven was never stealing, it was substituting. Every void was preparation for fullness. Every heartbreak was emptying space for joy. Every ending was an introduction to renewal. This exchange is happening not in your hands, but in your heart. Heaven is changing the way you see yourself, the way you understand your journey. The voice that once said, "You are forgotten," is being silenced by the whisper, "You are chosen." The story that once seemed tragic is being rewritten as testimony. As the Apostle Paul wrote with divine revelation, it is written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. This is the law of divine exchange. Nothing is wasted. Even the mistakes that once haunted you are being woven into redemption's design. You may not see it yet, but every painful piece is being placed exactly where it belongs to create the masterpiece heaven always intended. Chosen one. This exchange begins with trust. You cannot receive what heaven is giving if you are still gripping what is leaving. The divine transaction requires open hands. The moment you stop asking, Why did this happen? And begin saying, what are you forming through this is the moment heaven begins to multiply what was lost. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in a prison. Yet when the appointed time arrived, heaven exchanged his humiliation for honor. His pain became position, his tears became testimony, and when he stood in authority, he could finally say, what was meant for evil, God turned for good. You are walking into that same revelation. The very things that were meant to destroy you are being turned into the foundation of your destiny. Heaven is not returning what you lost, it is restoring what you were destined to carry. The difference is profound. Lost things return unchanged. Restored things return refined. You are not getting the old version of your life back. You are receiving a version transformed by wisdom, anchored by maturity, and clothed in divine strength. This is why the waiting was necessary. Heaven cannot release glory into unhealed hands. You had to be emptied before you could be entrusted. The pain purified your motives, humbled your heart, and prepared you for the power that's now being handed to you. Soon, you will see it, the evidence of exchange manifesting in small ways. Relationships healed, opportunities resurrected, peace restored. It won't come as a dramatic explosion, but as quiet shifts that feel supernatural in their simplicity. You'll wake one morning and realize the heaviness is gone, the bitterness is lifted, and joy flows like a forgotten river returning to its course. The divine exchange also changes your perception of others. Where once you saw betrayal, you now see training. Where once you saw endings, you now see redirection. You will begin to thank God for the very things that once made you weep, because you'll finally understand those tears were currency, buying your transformation. Heaven has been conducting this exchange all along. Every time you forgave, you traded bitterness for blessing. Every time you waited, you traded impatience for insight. Every time you chose faith, you traded fear for favor. You have been participating in heaven's economy without realizing it. Chosen one, you stand now as one who has been exchanged, no longer defined by pain but by purpose. The old version of you has completed its assignment. The new version is rising, radiant, wise, unshakable. Do not search for what left. Welcome what's coming. The past has paid its price. The future carries its reward. The divine transaction is complete. You are the evidence that God can turn mourning into dancing, sorrow into strength, and wounds into wonders. Chosen one. This is the moment all of heaven has been pointing you toward, the awakening and coronation of your destiny. The waiting, the warfare, the refining, the surrender, all of it has brought you here. December 4th was never simply a date written on a calendar. It is a spiritual doorway, a convergence between prophecy and fulfillment, between who you were and who you are becoming. The story of your struggle is now being crowned with glory. Heaven has not forgotten a single chapter of your journey. Every prayer whispered through tears, every night you thought no one saw, every act of faith that felt unseen, they were all recorded in eternity. You may have thought you were just surviving, but in truth you were being prepared for coronation. The weight you've carried was not punishment, it was proof of your coming authority. There is a moment in heaven when a chosen one finishes their refining, and the angels gather to witness the unveiling. That moment has come for you. You are not being crowned for perfection, but for persistence. You did not stand flawlessly, but you stood faithfully. You fell, yes, but you rose. You doubted, but you didn't quit. And that is what sets you apart. Heaven crowns not the strongest, but the steadfast. The spiritual coronation is not about recognition from others. It is the moment heaven's identity fully seals upon your spirit. The doubts that haunted you will no longer hold power. The confusion that clouded your path will clear. The questions that tormented your nights will quiet. You will finally see yourself as heaven has always seen you, chosen, anointed, unstoppable. As was spoken through the Apostle Peter, it is written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 5, verse 10. And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. Those words are your coronation decree. They echo through the heavens even now, wrapping around you like a mantle of light. The suffering was temporary, but the strength it produced will last forever. You are stepping into the reality of restoration. The same places that once broke you will now bow to the authority you carry. The same wounds that once silenced you will now become the sound of your testimony. Chosen one. When heaven crowns you, it does so with more than words. It infuses your very being with purpose. You will find that your thoughts shift, your speech carries weight, and your presence brings peace. You will no longer walk uncertain of who you are. The confusion that once lingered will vanish, and in its place will be divine clarity. You will not chase opportunities, they will recognize you. Your life will begin to reflect heaven's rhythm. Doors will open with divine timing. Resources will appear when needed. People will find you, drawn not by coincidence but by calling. You will feel heaven's current beneath your feet, carrying you toward everything prepared for you. There will be no striving, only flow. For those truly crowned by heaven do not force destiny, they walk in it. The crown placed upon you is invisible to the world, but undeniable in the spirit. Those sensitive to the divine will sense it before they see it. Some will be drawn to your light, others disturbed by it, for your very presence will expose the intentions of hearts. But do not fear the reactions of others. Light always reveals truth, and truth always divides before it unites. You will walk through spaces once closed to you, not by effort but by favor. People who overlooked you will look again and see something they cannot explain. What they are seeing is the reflection of heaven's glory upon your life. You are no longer walking in human strength, you are moving in divine momentum. This coronation is not an ending but a beginning. It marks the moment heaven's blueprint begins to unfold in the physical realm. Everything you've endured has not only prepared you but positioned you. Your feet are standing on holy ground, the threshold between preparation and purpose. From this moment on, you will live as a testament that heaven's promises are never empty. Do not be surprised if you feel different. The air around you may seem lighter, your heart more at peace, your thoughts clearer. This is the weight of glory replacing the weight of grief. You are not the same as you were yesterday. You have crossed the line of becoming a chosen one. Take a deep breath. Feel the crown of endurance resting gently upon your spirit. Heaven has spoken your name in its chambers, and creation has heard. From this day forward, you walk not as one hoping for purpose, but as one embodying it. You are not chasing your destiny, you are wearing it. The awakening is complete. The coronation has begun. Heaven calls you by your true name, and the earth will soon echo it. You are a light bearer, a truth carrier, a walking manifestation of divine promise fulfilled. Rise, crowned one. The world has been waiting for you to take your place. Chosen one, the journey has been written, the message delivered, and the crown placed. You have walked through darkness and come out carrying dawn. What heaven began in whispers has now been declared in full. You are chosen, called, and crowned for such a time as this, and this is where the scroll closes, but not where your story ends. From this moment, you walk as living prophecy and answered prayer in motion. Every step you take now ripples through eternity, awakening others who have forgotten their worth. The words you've read were never meant to stay within these lines. They are meant to become life through you. And now, I ask something sacred, something simple. If this journey has stirred something in your spirit, if it reminded you that you are seen, known, and marked by heaven, let that gratitude move. Share this light so another weary soul may find it. A single share is not just a click, it's a candle passed into another's night. When you like, you're not feeding numbers, you're feeding the flame. When you comment, you're echoing faith back into heaven's chambers, saying, I have heard, I believe, I am awake. Leave your thoughts below, whether it's a prayer, a testimony, or even one word of surrender. Heaven reads what you write here. And if your heart leads you, subscribe and stay connected. Together we build an altar of words and faith where the chosen gather not by coincidence, but by calling. This is how the movement grows, light joining light, voice joining voice, until the whole world glows with divine remembrance. The scroll may close, but your purpose unfolds from here. Go forth, crowned one, the world is waiting for your light.